Hello and welcome to another episode of the show. My name is Olayemi Olajide, CEO of the Market Food Shop and the Market Directory. If you're stuck trying to find customers for your business online, this episode is definitely for you. We'll be discussing online marketing for small businesses, and I'll be having this conversation with Ugochukwu Ezeagwula. He's a digital strategist. He has over 15 years of experience in this space. He's C.E.O Identita Brand Concepts, a digital company that handles branding and design, digital marketing, website design and development, as well as trainings for digital marketers. Hello, Ugochukwu. It's good to have you here.
Hi, Amy. Good to be here.
I think the first thing I should do is to thank you for building the very first version of the Market Food Shop. You were the one, because I remember that we were at Pan Atlantic at that time, yes. And we were in the car. We were actually discussing businesses, and we discussed my business, and you were like, you should get a website, you should move your business online. Yeah. So yeah, I think I should thank you for that first before I start bombarding you with
I'm actually very excited about the journey. I look at the Market Food Shop and I see how far you've come. I see that one word that actually sums your experience up for me is consistency. And that's something that people are not that you don't find common here. People are not consistent. You start something, then they jump to other things and all that. So, and I know there was a time you had a bit of a struggle, but you still kept consistently, and look where you are.
Thank you.
So congratulations to you too.
Thank you. So my first question for you is, right now there's like a content saturation online. And when I go on Instagram, I see that businesses are trying to create content. So with this current level of content saturation online, how can small businesses just make sure that they are seen,
Well, I think the most important thing for business is first, like I always say to people, it's good that you define your audience. Yes, there's so much content, but trust me, largely, most of it is junk. And so if you are able to actually define your audience, and that's one thing we always say in marketing, it starts with understanding what you're selling, who you're selling to. And then when you know who you're selling to, you know where they are, and then you know how to reach them. So for all I care, you might not necessarily have to even be on all the social networking platforms, especially when if your audience are not in this particular platform. So that's where people start making the mistake, because you now spread yourself thin, and then you're not able to actually, create content that is targeted at your audience. So I think for me, first mistake I think people make is just not clearly defining who they are trying to reach. Because once you know them, there's what we call audience persona. You have to define, try to create a persona, try to understand who you have created your product for. And another thing people do is the market, the size of the market. So there's this whole idea of people just think, okay, I create a product, my product is for everybody. No, it's not for everybody. And sometimes the place you are targeting, even though you might have a lot of population, but it doesn't actually mean that your core audience are present there. So in terms of the size of your market, so you might have 20 million people, but just 10,000 people are the people that, I'm just using that as an example, so it's not about the population, it's about your market. People that have the potential, they are your prospects. People that are your prospects that have potential to engage and buy your product. So it starts with, first of all, defining your audience, and then creating messaging that actually resonates with that audience. Once you do that, trust me, when you get a message, when you get content, in the midst of all this, a typical example, when you're going through your Instagram, there's a variety of content, but you don't stop to see every content. Yes. You don't stop to look at everything or watch every video. You skip past very fast. And when you see the one that resonates with you, you pause. So that's the thing.
Very true. Okay. So my second question would be, what's the first thing you would recommend to a business that's struggling to reach an audience online?
So for a business that's struggling to reach an audience, I would always say, first of all, go back to the drawing board. And I mean, it also cascades back to what I've talked about. So there's what we call strategy and planning, right? Before you leap into, making noise about your products or services and all that, you need to first of all do your planning, do the proper planning, map out your strategy. And in creating your strategy, you need to, first of all, even do what we call situational analysis. Look at where you are right now vis-a-vis, your audience and then your competitors. Sometimes you get a lot of insights from even what your competitors are doing. There are people probably that have been in that market before you came in, right? So there's also what we call competitor analysis. And I'm sure when I say this, for small businesses, you begin to think, oh, do I need to go and get an agency to do this? No, competitor analysis even starts from, basic, go look around what they are doing, look at their own social media assets, the ones that you think are the big names for you in your industry. Look at their assets, look at what they are doing, and then look at their numbers. How much engagement are they getting? How much, and then when you see all that, then of course, a deeper level of insight would be, especially for retail business, to be able to mine information about how much sales that come from all this. And that's not something you can get, from the face value. But at least the rudimentary elements of it, just, looking around, looking at what is happening, looking at the engagement numbers and all that, that will give you an idea of what actually seems to be working in your segment, but strategy is key, planning is key. When you strategize, you now look at your market, look at what works, then you create what we call content pillars. Content pillars. So I see a lot of people do content and they just do content spontaneously or randomly, So, but that's not the proper way to do it, because you need to, first of all, every brand must have just you as an individual. I know you very, very well. I know you are a bit intro. Well, you're an introvert, unlike me. So that we have different personas. Do you get what I'm saying? And oftentimes you reflect your persona. That's the same thing with a brand. There are some brands that are conservative. There are some brands that are, they are exciting. There are some brands that pitch themselves as, oh, we are very radically creative and all that. So you define your person. And once you understand who you are, right? So for instance, you as an individual, you are not necessarily going to be seen everywhere, So you probably, the people, the audience, the places where you go to, where the people that you exchange value with, where to find them and all that, and you just go straight to that place and you do what you want. The same thing happens with brands, right? So as a brand, you must be able to define what's your brand persona, right? And then based on that now affects, then you create your content, what we call your content pillars. Your content pillars are like, they're like a guide to the kind of things, you want to put out online. So you're not just talking about everything, but you're talking about things that are cognate to your own values, to your own, functional attributes and all that. And so that guides the content that you create, right? Then there's also the element of leveraging on seasonal highlights and also leveraging on trends, but whatever you do, even when you're leveraging on trends, you still find that you will tie it back to your pillars, so there's a guide. So that's another mistake that I see that small businesses do. You just get somebody, or most times it's even the owner is the person posting, and all they do is just post. They are very what we call salesy. You're selling every time you're posting. No, you see, the thing is, the idea of social media is a platform where we can socialize. So think about it. If I come into a place, right, and we come into a gathering, and then in that gathering, all you do is just tell me, hey, I run the market food shop, or we sell this, we sell that, we do this, we do that. Every conversation is all about selling. Then you lose people. So you want to be able to also create pillars that allows you interact with people. See, your brand on social media is like a person. So you should be able to interact with your audience like a normal person, right? And so you make it real, you make it relatable, to people. So that's another mistake a lot of people make. So most times you have either the owner of the business running the social media, or they employs one person that they just say, oh, I want a social media manager. They employ the person, not even know if the person has these requisite skills or not. They just mean, okay, can you post? All right, okay, come and post. And they are always posting, and most
their
times
content is just all over the place.
all over
it's
the
not
place,
speaking
but there's no bite.
Okay, I think I get that. What are the common mistakes small businesses make when it comes to content marketing or online marketing as a whole?
Well, so some of the mistakes I've talked about already. The fact that you don't have a clearly defined audience, you don't have a clearly defined pillars that you communicate, and then also I think another thing is, for a small business, we understand that for the skill you might not be able to employ the services of people that will deliver value in terms of your marketing communication. Okay. And that's where you now have to invest. So you have to invest in yourself. And I would say the truth, nothing but the truth. So there's always a misconception. You think that you can do, what Yoruba call Ogbonishe. I can post, I can, and then Canva is deceiving people. so Canva is deceiving people. I can do design now. I can do this, I can do that. Well, good. But it gets to a skill if you're a very serious business. If you're a very serious business. One of the things I teach digital marketing. And I think one of the biggest aha moments that my students get is when they realize that, this digital marketing is it's not just about social media. There's a lot of things around it. Even the social media, if you pick social media as a function, right? So there are different competencies that are required to make your social media content rich, that you as an individual might not be able to provide all those competencies. So I'll give you an example. You need good graphic design, right? You need somebody that can write content, right? And it's different from writing content for online, really. It's different from writing for newspaper. So you really need, and then if you have a website, you need somebody also who can write for search, right? So who has some level of SEO competency, that can do that, So there is a lot within. Then there's analytics, because you also need to look at your numbers and look at, all these efforts I'm putting in, how is it translating to results in terms of my objectives? If my objective is to create awareness, I'm looking at the number of impressions I'm getting, the reach of my content and all that. So depending on what your objective is. So that's the mistake a lot of people make. The truth is that when you start growing, I will always advise you. Otherwise, I sit back and I laugh. I see organizations that can actually afford, mid-sized organizations that can afford to either set up a team in-house or engage an agency to do it. They say they just go and employ one social media manager and say the person should do it. It would never deliver that value. But for a small business, an entrepreneur, a startup, somebody who is starting at a low scale, the best you can do for yourself also is to go and take lessons, learn, take classes. Some of these classes are online, they are free, YouTube. Just have an idea of these things and how it works. And then where you can handshake, there are some things you don't have to pay so much. You can get a very good graphic designer and say, look, I need you to do this for me. I know people that, arrange and say, okay, I'll pay you per post, per post design. So you do all that. But the thing is, you whatever you do, just make sure that, you are excellent about it. Because when like you have said, online is saturated. So the thing that differentiates you also comes from the quality of the content that you put out.
Okay. Because what I hear from this is number one, invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Then number two, really, if you can get somebody to do. And I really, this resonates with me because for the longest time, I struggled a lot with online marketing. Until one day, I think I just told myself, you can't keep doing this. It's obviously not working. And the moment I got somebody to help me handle, I could tell the difference. So
the other side of it, now you brought up another side that a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about. You see, what is your core business? What's your core business? You know, in economics in secondary school, we did what we call law of comparative cost advantage. You know, if you concentrate on what you have comparative advantage for your business, see that what's the functional part of your business that, you know, operations, you know, doing trading and all that. That's your core business, right? Now, most times what entrepreneurs do is that because there's this whole craze about social media, marketing and all that, they sacrifice their core business trying to do this part, and then there's a burnout. And so they cannot optimize their performance here, neither can they deliver results here because they are not wired to deliver results here.
Interesting.